There is certainly a lot of politics that goes into dealing with the crisis in Ukraine. So joining us to talk about Russia's invasion is Representative Brad Sherman, who sits on the Foreign Affairs Committee. And Congressman Sherman, thank you so much for joining us. This is, I'm sure, a very difficult day for you and others at the top of our government. So Russia has moved with lightning speed and enormous force. This is a simple but probably the toughest question. Can Ukraine, in your opinion, be saved? And if so, how?
Well, it's up to mostly the Ukrainians to save Ukraine. I distributed to all my colleagues a special message from the defense minister of the Ukraine, begging Congress to make sure that we provide anti-aircraft missiles, these Stingers that are only 35 pounds, and anti-tank missiles, that we turn them over to Ukrainians in Poland so that we don't actually have to go anywhere near a war zone. Because if the Ukrainians have the tools they need to impose a lot of military cost on Putin, that is our best chance for seeing an independent Ukraine. Frankly, I think our sanctions are a bit on the weak side, and even those who think they're strong would have to admit that they're not going to have much effect on Russia for many, many months.
Right. That's interesting that you say that. And when it comes to the military, Ukraine has been open to the fact that they definitely need our help when it comes to that. Do you foresee a scenario where actually our military, our troops on the ground will actually get involved?
Hell no. Absolutely no. We can deliver things to the Ukrainians on the Polish side of their joint border, on the Latvian side of that joint border. We should not have American troops in the Ukraine.
Okay. So I'm gonna kind of go out on a limb a little bit here and bring something else into the conversation. The other major superpower is China, a communist country. They are quietly standing on the sidelines. They are watching. Do you see a scenario where they could actually take a side? And if so, which side would they take?
Well, ideologically and legally, they'll be on our side, but with such a soft voice that no one will notice, because they don't believe that you should have one country invade another. They are very solid when it comes to the importance of international borders. But economically, and this is where it'll matter, they'll buy all the Russian oil and gas they can, and that will prop up Putin's economy.
That's interesting. You mentioned that you don't feel like the sanctions will have the teeth to get the job done. Can you tell us more about that? And what should we be doing? Because we still are not clear on what the sanctions are, as well as what they're going to do. What are your thoughts?
We don't have the details out of the administration, but what is clear is that we're going to leave Russia in the SWIFT system, which is the international bank processing system. And that the reason we're going to do that is to facilitate the efficient sale of Russian oil, even to the United States, where we buy a small amount of it, and of course to Europe that buys a large amount. So if they're in the banking system for the purpose of selling their oil, those are much weaker sanctions than the ones we had under Obama on Iran that pushed them into nuclear negotiations.
Congressman Sherman, I know these are tough times. You have a lot on your shoulders when it comes to figuring out what the next step is. Thank you very much for taking some time to talk to us today.
Thank you.